All right, we're going to do the first four together to make sure that we just remember this whole process. Go ahead and title your paper, and you can write down the first few or the first couple. I didn't have room for number 4, so I'll do that in just a second. All right, this first one. Notice there's no GCF for us to factor out. So we're going to look at the product of 3 times 5, and we're going to look for two numbers that multiply to make negative 15, because 3 times negative 5, and add to make negative 2. So that's going to have to be a 5 and a 3, and to make the sum negative 2, it's going to have to be a negative 5 and a positive 3. Negative 5 and a positive 3. So remember what we do with that. We copy down the 3p squared, and this negative 2p we split up as minus 5p plus 3p, and then the minus 5 comes down. Now we're going to factor by grouping, and we're going to factor out the GCF of each pair. Here it's p, so then I'm left with 3p minus 5, and here it's just a 1, so I'm left with, again, 3p minus 5. And I'm really glad that those two are the same, so my final factoring is p plus 1 times 3p minus 5. Okay, number 2. Notice that this is a difference of squares. So it's going to factor as a plus b, a minus b. And I can see that 25 is 5 squared. 1 over 16x squared is 1/4 x squared. So this is just going to factor as 5 plus 1/4 x and 5 minus 1/4 x. I should box this answer also. Okay, number 3. There is a GCF here. It looks like it's probably 2n, so I'm going to factor that out first. Here I'm left with 2n squared plus 3n minus 9. And now this problem is a lot like number 1. I'm going to have to find something that multiplies to make negative 18, 2 times negative 9, and adds to make positive 3. So that's going to have to be 6 and negative 3. 6 and negative 3. Alright, so don't forget about that 2n. It's going to stay right there. And I'm going to factor this as 2n squared plus 6n minus 3n minus 9. Grouping. Now n plus 3 is going to be my second factor. My first factor will be 2n minus 3. Great. Let's look at number 4, the last one that we'll do together before you try some on your own. Okay, number 4, 3x cubed plus 2x squared minus 27x minus 18. And you can see I've drawn these brackets to factor by grouping, a lot like we did in 1 and 3. So I'm going to factor out an x squared here because that's the GCF of the first two terms, and I'm left with 3x plus 2. Here I'm going to factor out a negative 9, and then I've got 3x plus 2. These two are the same, that's good news. 3x plus 2, and here I've got x squared minus 9. Make sure you realize that you're not finished yet. This is a difference of squares, so we're going to factor that as x plus 3, x minus 3, and this one is 3x plus 2. Each one of these factors is a linear factor, meaning the x has a power of 1, so I know it can't be factored any further. Awesome. The rest is for you to try your own, and then make sure you check your answers.